Hi guys, Scott Woodward with you, and it's semi-final time, and the first game that we have to preview for you is the West Tigers versus the Warriors. That's 4th against 6th, and the bookies have the West Tigers very short price favourites, more than a converted try start in the betting, and based on what we saw last week, that's certainly deserved on recent form. But if we look at the two lists of the teams, both the Tigers and the Warriors, there's not a lot of difference in the personnel, and we are really just going on form and a lot what we saw last week. The Warriors probably had a season worst performance last week. They just failed to turn up at all. They made the Broncos look very good. They couldn't do a thing right. Big Manu Vatuvei had the fumbles, and the team just couldn't respond off that. We have to say, forget they were there. They're much better than that. We know they're much better than that. While they've incurred some injuries, and it seems that the West Tigers have come out of last weekend in pretty good shape. There's no doubt that the Warriors will go much better this week than what they went against the Broncos. They just simply can't go any worse than that. That was absolutely rock bottom. Shaun Berrigan has not come up like he didn't last week. His hip is not good. The mail is that he will not be a late call into this game. So the big concern is the captain, Simon Mannering. He hurt his ankle in the 6th minute of the game last week, and that certainly wasn't good for the Warriors. He's certainly their most influential player. And their captain, and he's a very important player, and he wasn't good at all last week. My mail is that he will be patched up and he will get on the field at all costs. They have to have him. He's their glue. He holds them together. And if he's not there, a lot of the younger guys would struggle with him not on the field. He's the best talker, and obviously he's their captain. He must be there. My mail is he will be there. Locke, the fullback, got a head knock in the 15th minute. He will be okay to play, and unfortunately Moon broke his ankle, and he's not going to play. But look, on a positive side for that, the replacement centres are very, very good centres, very talented centres. Lewis Brown and Chris Anu both come into the centres now. He's a big concern for me, Chris Anu, but he has got talent, and he can tear up any side if he does play up to his ability, and everything happens to work for him. So that's a big red flag for the Tigers. Kevin Locke is in great form, the fullback. Bill Tupou has got a lot of mistakes in him, but he also has got some amazing ability and can bust tackles. We've talked about the two centres. Manu Vatuvei had his worst game in 4 years. You'd have to think that won't happen again. He is world class when he puts everything together. There's no doubt about that. It's the centres. The two halves, the 6 and the 7, James Maloney and Shaun Johnson for the Warriors. That is a big concern for me. They looked starstruck against the Broncos last week in their biggest game of the year. They just couldn't handle the big crowd, and they just couldn't handle the big occasion. Both these two guys are absolute fly machines, and they're not ball players and they're not organisers, but they can bust tackles, and they have got a kick in them, and they are a big concern. I think Shaun Johnson really could be anything. He's only a kid. This is his first year in first grade, and I'm looking to see him go a hell of a lot better this week. I think he's got a little bit of Benji Marshall in him, and maybe let's hope we can see that for him this week. The Warriors certainly need him to have a good game if they are going to go well. Sam Rapira has got a reprieve, and he will take his place. Aaron Herramiah, Jacob Lillyman, Feliti Mateo. We talked about Simon Mannering and Michael Locke, who is their best defender in the side. It's a very, very good side, and we know it's a very good bench. Lanto Hire comes off the bench. He's an international. Russell Packer, Ben Madalino, and Yukama Taya. And Elijah Taylor, who's got a wonderful future, he can't even make the side. So we're talking about a very, very good list here with the Warriors, and they went awful last week. I don't like laying a team that just had an awful game the previous week. They generally always bounce back, and I'm sure, while I don't think the Warriors can win this game, I've got no doubt they'll bounce back and they'll be a lot more competitive than what they were last week. let's just talk about the Tigers. For a team that's won 9 games in a row, and it was their biggest game of the season last week, they just didn't turn up to play last week. Their first 40 minutes was awful. They got a flum try by Benji Marshall, and that was basically all that happened. St George had a very comfortable lead at half-time, and not only did they have a poor start to the game, their kicking game was atrocious. And you have to say, what are they doing here? They are good enough and classy enough to go in at the Sheds and turn it around at half-time and show what a class side they are, and just went to the line terrific in the last 40 minutes and beat the Premiers St George. Only good sides can do that. You'd have to think that the Tigers will be looking to get a better start this week and get a better kicking game. The big plus for them is that they did start bad, and the 2 best players, Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah, both didn't have the best of games on their standards. Benji's kicking game was awful. Robbie missed a very bad tackle, which allowed a try. He did make a lot of tackles in the game, something like 45 or something, and he is a world-class hooker. There's no question that the Tigers have the 2 best players on the field, but if you want to compare 17 to 17, there's not a lot of difference between these 2 teams. There's no doubt about that. I'm very happy with the way Tim Moltzen is going. Beau is an okay centre, right wing, I should think. I would imagine he'll hold that place down. I can't imagine the coach will go with Matt Utai again. Blake Ayshford keeps going from strength to strength. Every time I see him, he looks a better player to me. I think this time next year, people could be talking about representative honours for Blake Ayshford if he keeps on improving like this. They, of course, welcome back their class centre, Chris Lawrence. And not only will it be good to have him there for his running game, but also he's a much smarter player than the guy he's replaced, Matt Utai. I was very hard on him last week and said that he shouldn't have been in the side. And unfortunately, I was right. He missed 6 tackles, and I got no idea why St George didn't run their attack to him last week. It was just ridiculous. Mark Gasnier was just too good for him, but you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know that was going to happen. I think the coach stuffed up poorly by selecting him there in the first place. But the Tigers have got Chris Lawrence there this week, and they'll go a lot better with him. Lote, Tuqiri very much needed the run. I'm sure he'll be a lot fitter this week. Robert Louis has got mistakes in him. I was disappointed with his kicking game, but he is a wonderful talent, and he set up some tries, and he looked dangerous every time he had the ball. And what a wonderful future he has got if he continues on this progress. Bryce Gibbs was outstanding in defence last week. Robbie Farah, we talked about. Keith Galloway had an outstanding game, and I think he'll be on the Kangaroo tour at the conclusion of this game, particularly as his coach is the Australian coach, has a walk-up start there. Liam Fulton had his season-best game last week. He was by far and away the best forward on the field, which is a big rap when you take into account that Gareth Ellis is in the side. And he had his usual good game, but he can do better. Chris Heighington also had his usual wonderful game, always very busy. Interchange, Mitch Brown can play anywhere, could even stick his head in the forward pack if he has to, but he's a very good guy to have onto the bench. Mark Flanagan goes okay. Matt Groat, very young. Maybe not up to this grade at the moment, playing semi-final football, and probably the same can be said for Aaron Woods. So it's not what you call a sensational bench for West Tigers. They will be relying very heavy on their 2 halves, and also Robbie Farah and Tim Moltzen. And look, I think it will get them home, but they're very, very short. There's no way known I could be taking the short odds. I think you can expect a much better performance from the Warriors this week. But for me, it'll be the Tigers to win. Bookie say for more than a try. That might be the case. I think they'll just get home. I don't want to get involved in the game. I think the prices are just about right. But should be a great game. Looking forward to Friday night. Cheers.